I would suspect moving from your hometown or maybe the location that you've lived in for the last 5, 10, 15, or 20 years would have a pretty significant change on your life. And we've worked with tons of people moving from across the country and world to here in Northern Colorado and Fort Collins. So we reached out and asked them just that. How has your life changed since moving to Fort Collins, Northern Colorado, for the good or bad? And that's what today's video is going to discuss, is how has your life changed since moving to Northern Colorado? And we're going to talk about 4 positive changes and 6 negative changes to those individuals' lives. My name is Patrick Soukup, and this is the Living in Fort Collins YouTube channel, where we talk about all things Fort Collins and Northern Colorado, eating, sleeping, playing, working, you name it, we're going to talk to you about it. So if you enjoy the video, give it a thumbs up, maybe subscribe if you're looking at learning more about Northern Colorado. And if at the end of this video you want to share with a buddy, we're not going to be mad. But let's jump into today's video. Here we go. All right, number 1, just the overall quality of life. I would say we have significant sun, outdoor recreation, very close to the mountains. We generally like to eat healthy, play hard, work hard, good economy. People are gonna come here and they're gonna just enjoy some of more outdoor recreations to hiking, biking, tubing down the Pooter, paddleboarding in Horsetooth Reservoir, or biking along the Pooter Trail to City Park for our food truck rallies that happen May through September down at City Park. So number 1 is just gonna be overall quality of life. Individuals have experienced just this increased positivity and general happiness about their life. Number 2, community spirit. People love living in Fort Collins and Northern Colorado. And in fact, when they move here, they're excited to be the location where their family and friends are going to come and visit. And generally speaking, the majority of people that if you talk to them love living here in Fort Collins and Northern Colorado. They pour into the community. They pick up trash, pick up litter, get involved with volunteer opportunities. And when you go out, I would say one of the things, now granted, I'm born and raised here in Fort Collins, and I would say more times than not, when I go out to eat or the restaurant or grocery store, I'm probably gonna run into somebody that I know. And people really like that. They like seeing their neighbors out, their friends, people that they engage with. We have 180,000 people in Fort Collins, 350,000 people in Larimer County. And generally speaking, we're pretty centered about living around here in Northern Colorado. We can go down to Denver for the professional sports games, but people really engage in their Northern Colorado community to kids' sports recreation activities, the food truck rally that I was just talking about, shopping at the grocery stores, going out to the movie theaters, downtown, Old Town, the mall, Midtown, south side of town. There's just a lot of people that love spending their dollars, time, and enjoyment here in Northern Colorado. Number 3, the healthier lifestyle, but caveat, also the enjoyment of our craft beer scene. So people are gonna come here, they're going to spend more time outside. There's just gonna be a lot more sunshine, and even during the winter time periods, we're gonna have sun. We're gonna have 50-degree days, clear sidewalks. You can get on your bike, dress appropriately, and go on a bike ride. You can absolutely go and enjoy some food truck rallies, food truck options in and around. You got Jack's, downtown, Old Town North, New Belgium, Odell's Brewery, the patio there, and otherwise May through September, you have your food truck rallies that you can really enjoy as well. People really like to stay in shape. There's the Ascent Climbing Gym, Genesis, good health clubs, but otherwise you can absolutely go hiking in and around all of Northern Colorado. My dad drives 5 hours in a day, 5 hours to and then 5 hours back. Now I think he's only done that once, to go to some amazing hiking. And so generally speaking, the average individual is going to enjoy a more healthy lifestyle. Not to say that everyone here is jacked or is completely fit or anything along those lines, but comparative to their previous life in whatever location that might be, it might have been a pretty sedentary life. They're gonna come here and they're gonna be a lot more active and outdoors when they move here and really enjoy that craft beer scene, whether that be Odell's, Zwei Brewing, Coopersmith's, Old Faithful, New Belgium. There's just a really healthy lifestyle of, hey, let's go have fun, work out, eat good, eat healthy, but then let's go have a beer and enjoy each other's company in this wonderful sunshine that we have in Colorado. And finally, number 4, there's some great educational opportunities. Through the City of Fort Collins, there's mentorship programs, and you can become a City of Fort Collins leader, or Colorado State University, go back to school, get some education, go through some classes, use the library at CSU. There's things that, really that Colorado State University that brings in 30,000 kids and 7,500 jobs plus every year is really going to be a backbone of this community, and you can really engage in some opportunities to grow your professional skill set, go to Front Range Community College for a more affordable class, or really engage with the City of Fort Collins that wants to build future leaders and help people understand how the city works and how you can get involved on volunteer basis. So I would say that people are coming here and they're having this open mind of they want to grow as a person, and Fort Collins is a great opportunity for that. So educational opportunities, number 4 as a positive change. Now, we are going to talk about some negative changes because not everything's super exciting and people aren't thrilled about, but there's going to be some things that you should take into consideration, especially if you're considering moving to Northern Colorado. So let's jump in. Number 1, we have seen a pretty high cost of living, specifically around housing, both renting and buying, especially when you consider it to the early 2000s, late 90s. There was some super affordable homes that you could buy here in Fort Collins in Northern Colorado, especially comparatively to the median income. But due to a lot of different factors, the desirability of living here in Fort Collins in Northern Colorado, we've seen our prices and the cost of housing, both renting and buying, increase. And that has definitely put some pressure on some individuals. Now, people that are moving from parts of New York, Boston, Washington, Seattle, Florida, parts of Texas, California, they probably still see Fort Collins as a relatively big discount comparatively to where they're coming from. If you're coming from places like Topeka, Kansas, or Des Moines, Iowa, or parts of the Midwest in Ohio, you're going to see a higher price to buy a house and or rent. Now, our property taxes are much more favorable comparatively to the Midwest, but I would say in general, our cost of housing has been a pressure on those individuals moving here to Fort Collins and Northern Colorado. Now, number 2 could honestly go either way, because those people that are coming from New York, Boston, Washington, Seattle, California, parts of Texas, and Florida, they might be coming from a much more heavy trafficked area. So when they come to Fort Collins, they laugh about the traffic here because there is none. But that being said, we are a very quickly growing community, and we don't necessarily have the best infrastructure to accommodate maybe 500,000 people or 300,000 people right now. And we are always about 10 years behind on I-25. So you will see some traffic, especially if you're not used to any. If you came from a place that didn't have any traffic, Fort Collins very well may seem that it has traffic bumper to bumper and the community's not built for it. And especially if you're local, you do not enjoy the traffic because it used to take 15 minutes to get anywhere, no matter where it was in Fort Collins, because there was barely any stoplights, no traffic, no people, no big deal. But now, definitely I would say there's more traffic. They are growing, widening streets. I-25 is growing, but we are just, that kind of infrastructure takes a long time to build. So we'll get there, we'll be okay. But traffic, if that is an annoyance of yours, definitely something to consider. Which actually, part 2 of that traffic issue is if you're coming from a place with that higher density, Chicago, New York, Boston, everything like that, you might not necessarily be used to driving everywhere. Here in Fort Collins, we are a sprawled out community. And for me, it takes 7 miles to get from my house to downtown to work every day. Groceries, driving. Now, Fort Collins is trying to build these 15-minute communities to where you could potentially bike everywhere or walk everywhere to get grocery, restaurants, all that good stuff. I don't necessarily think we are there, and I think we are used to, as a community, driving everywhere. So there'll have to be some relearning to go, but people coming from these more dense communities are not accustomed to having to drive everywhere. So if you're moving to Fort Collins and you don't want to, you're definitely going to want to be closer to that downtown area to where you can walk or get on your bike and maybe even live with 1 car per family. Now, we are in Colorado, the Rocky Mountains, and we have 4 distinct seasons: winter, spring, summer, and fall. And each one brings with it its own joys of weather. The summer, you're going to have some dry weather. You're going to need to get the lotion out, sunscreen on, especially if you're bald like me. You can absolutely, we're higher up, so that those sunburns can absolutely come pretty quick. Fall, I really have nothing bad to say about fall. I absolutely love it. Now, as we get into late summer, early fall, July, August, September, as it gets hot and, we're kind of transitioning seasons, thunderstorms, potential large hailstorms. So definitely something to take into consideration. Winter, this last winter sucked. There were 3 different days that we had negative degrees. Now, I used to really take into account that you could have one day with negative weather throughout the day, throughout the entire day, once every 3 years. But this year we had it 3 times. I suspect there's going to be a decent amount of bushes and foliage that have died, but you can get that. Although we aren't necessarily in Alaska or North Dakota or anything like that, we can get these polar vortexes and super, super cold days. We're also going to get snow. Now, nothing too crazy, but we absolutely are going to get anywhere between 40 to 50 inches a year of snow. Now, for me, that equates to anywhere between 7 to 14 storms, 10 to 20 snow shovels on your driveway, depending on how often you're driving. Now, each person could shovel a little bit more, and it's going to fluctuate from season. And then spring could definitely have some wind and things of that nature. So you're going to come here and it could be windy during the spring. Some springs are windier than others. And speaking about getting higher to the sun, the altitude, we've had some clients move here from Chicago. They're climbing up the stairs. They definitely don't want a 2-story house. They want more of a ranch level. So altitude is here as well. So the harsh weather here in Colorado, Fort Collins, generally speaking, we have some phenomenal sun, great days, good weather overall, but we are going to have some rough days. So something to take into consideration. Number 4, and this kind of hits home for us. We've talked about it over previous videos, but lack of diversity. I would say, a lot of people like having different socioeconomic classes, cultural backgrounds, ethnicities, so that, they're kids and individuals and they can experience other cultures and religions and great conversations and grow together as individuals. And that's something that Fort Collins doesn't have a ton of. We have a lot more than when I was growing up here, but generally speaking, we're pretty heavily populated by white individuals. Anywhere between 80 to 85% of our population is white. And that's something that my wife, when we were considering whether we were going to stay or move, was a consideration. Do we want our kids to grow up where there's not as many kids that look like them in the classrooms? So lack of diversity is definitely something that you're going to have to get used to if you are coming from a more culturally diverse area. But Fort Collins is slowly growing and slowly evolving into a more culturally diverse area. Now, politically, I would say we're kind of all over the place. We were very heavily Republican, red county in Larimer County for many, many years, then purple. Now I'd say we're pretty heavily blue, but generally speaking, open-minded and willing to discuss and have conversations with people, and nothing too crazy. You're always going to have 10% on each side that are just crazy, wild, extreme, but that 80%, I would say, is kind of a stronger population here in Fort Collins. So politically, I'd say we have a relatively diverse opinions and thoughts and openness and willingness to discuss and have real conversations. Now, we talked about having great economy and like the opportunities and healthy lifestyle and things of that nature, but we do have limited jobs for individuals coming here from those bigger kind of tech areas. Like, we're a burgeoning tech scene, nothing like Boulder or Denver, and our median incomes, we're above $100,000 for a family of 4. But that being said, for an individual with a high skill set, we don't have those high paying jobs that might support or accommodate a higher cost of living. They're coming, people are building them, startups are all around us, but coming to Fort Collins, you're either going to be remote working to get those higher paying jobs, need to start your own business, or be some type of professional, doctor, lawyer, accountant, something along those lines. But otherwise, if you're looking for a big Fortune 500 company that has opportunity to build, grow, pay high paying jobs, we don't have a ton of them. We have some, Agilent, Broadcom, and things of that nature. CSU, City of Fort Collins are some of our biggest employers. But generally speaking, employment opportunities are relatively limited for the higher paying jobs. And finally, the negative change that happened with somebody's life is just, the stress of moving. It can be a lot. I I don't personally have anything to have experience, or, my perspective is very limited. I've moved from Fort Collins to Loveland for 9 months of my life and then back to Fort Collins. But I haven't had this cross-country move. Now, I've worked with tons of families and individuals that have made the move, so I feel like I kind of understand it, but I have no doubt, and I'm not going to put myself into that situation and saying that I can relate, because I can't. But having conversations, the stress of moving can be great. And I would say we've made other videos that discusses the stresses and things that you can do to help you along that moving process that are direct from individuals, like giving yourself a couple extra days on the front side and back side, because you're just going to need it to decompress and also get your work done, and maybe ordering groceries to be delivered to you when you arrive, making sure to get some quotes from moving companies because they can differentiate dramatically. So we feel like we have some ideas of how we can help limit that stress, but being in it, traveling across the world or country would absolutely cause some stress. And yes, when you get here after 3, 4, 5, 6 months, maybe finally get those boxes cleared out and moved out of your area, you can decompress a little bit and really start to enjoy the positive changes that happen to you when you move to Fort Collins in Northern Colorado. Now, this video hopefully was helpful for you to understand some perspectives of those individuals who have made the move to Fort Collins in Northern Colorado. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, comment below, reach out, text, email, call, especially if you're considering relocating. We are licensed real estate agents in the state of Colorado. Appreciate you guys watching, and until next time, take care.